Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritually Fucked podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Mulholland. Let's get into the show. The podcast I originally deleted. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And the funny thing about this episode is I posted it and then I deleted it. And that's the first time I've ever done that. And it's so funny because, well, is it funny? I don't know. I feel like I have a habit of saying that. Is it actually funny or is it just interesting? It's so interesting because it was happening at the same time where I was like becoming confident in my voice and sharing my truths and blah, blah, blah. And I posted it and it didn't feel 100%. And if I'm questioning something, I am starting to take that as a no, because it's either a fuck yes or a fuck no. And, I battled back and forth. Like, is this my ego wanting to delete it? And it was a mess. It was a learning lesson. It was one of those messes that became a message. And at the end of me listening to it, I realized I didn't sound like myself, and that's why I deleted it. And the reason I didn't sound like myself was because I was doing this online program and I was just absorbing this chick's information because I wanted to get my most out of the program. And then I recorded a fucking podcast and I didn't sound like myself, and I don't like that. And I want you to know that how I show up is I want to show up 100% myself. And the final sheds of last year really locked in because it's January. It's January 6th now, and I'm finally redoing this podcast. It's number 17, so it's gonna be messed up a little bit, okay? But I'm re-recording it because at the end of last year, I was just consuming way too much outer information, and the final month of December, I just cut everything out and I went back into silence and into my brain with myself. And I stopped binging podcasts and I stopped just absorbing information. And I really got into this groove of listening to myself again so I can come back and show up. Oh my God, my cats are banging on the door. Show up 100% myself, because that is really important to me. It's really important that I show up authentically, raw, spiritually fucked, 100% Taylor. And that one podcast I posted, I just didn't really sound like myself. All my opinions and truths were 100% myself, but just, I don't know, the languaging, I was like, okay, I'm listening to too many other people. So let that be an inspiration or a message for you to quiet the noise and listen back to your heart. And so the original title of this podcast was The Spiritual Truths I Am Too Afraid to Say Out Loud. And another reason I feel like I deleted it is because what the fuck is truth anyways? I've been really sitting with this idea. Is there a spiritual truth, you guys? I don't think so. I don't know. I think everyone lives out of their own lens. And so if I could rename that title, it would be The Lens I'm Living Out of Spiritually or something. I don't know. But I labeled it The Spiritual Truths. Just it's a fucking buzzword, okay? I want people to be like, whoa, what is this podcast about? It's called marketing. But the original title, The Spiritual Truths I'm Too Afraid to Say Out Loud. And within that episode, I talked about religion, politics, fucking twin flames I talked about, because again, everyone has an opinion on it. Attachment styles. What else? The government. Did I already say that? The government. Conception. I fucking talked about abortion, you guys. Like, I just went off. And it just made me, I don't know. It's like, those are my truths. But are they the truth? Who is to say? So the intention behind this is to just give you an idea of the lens I'm living through to, I don't know, maybe question your own self. And I one of my intentions for this new year, or one of kind of like my sayings, I was like, you know what? I really am inspired by fucking everyone, whether they agree with me or whether they don't. Because if they don't agree with me or they have a different viewpoint of me, that's fucking awesome because it makes me question and think, what is my opinion on that? And that's kind of my intention for this podcast, is to just give a different point of view of some things and just talk about what me and my friends are talking about and learn from other people's opinions. Okay, that is the intention of this. And so I talk about some pretty controversial things, but they're only controversial because we are putting that title on them. They don't have to be controversial. Am I saying that right? I don't fucking know. I botch a lot of words. But they don't have to be. It's like, why is there so much charge in right or wrong? Do we even know what right or wrong is? And that's kind of where I wanted to diffuse and kind of talk about these blurred lines in spirituality. What is right? What is wrong? It's different for everyone. And so these are my truths, I guess. And I don't even want to call them fucking truths, because is it the truth? I don't know. These are just my opinions and my viewpoints. And so I guess we'll just start by going over some of the things I talk about. And I don't know why I really want to start off with this one, but twin flames. There was that Netflix series that came out. I didn't even fucking watch it. I just think this is a really fun thing to talk about because it's like, well, twin flames aren't real. Me. And in my opinion, it's like, it's whatever you want it to be. I personally think, I mean, I'm a fucking poet. I wrote a book on ethereal love. Of course, I believe in twin flames. Of course, I subscribe to this experience because it's a really poetic, beautiful coming home to yourself. And if you look at the story and journey of twin flames, like the real alchemical process of it, it's your soul is split in two. And so you're on this twin flame journey and you meet this person, or you even channel this energy of this twin flame. And everyone's a mirror, you guys. But the twin flame is like your kind of half of a soul. And so if you're with this person, or you call your partner your twin flame, or you even channel this energy of twin flame, it's like, well, they're triggering me. Where is that coming from inside of myself? And I personally think that's a great way to look at all relationships. And you know, you go on this twin flame journey if you've met this person, or you are just channeling this energy, which I think is very possible. You're really just looking at the triggers and the experience as, how can I upgrade myself? How can I become closer to myself? Like, there's the separation phase. It's like, oh, you have this yearning for them and they're separate. Well, where are you separate in yourself, or where do you not feel whole within yourself, or you want them to reach out to you, but you turn that back, you flip that mirror around and you say, well, where am I not reaching out to myself? And it's just it's a journey. It's just taking your relationship, your romantic relationship, calling it a twin flame. Who knows if it's your twin flame? You got to ask God. Like, I don't know. Is he your twin flame or is he not? It's only something you can decide, and it's only a knowing you can know. I personally wouldn't recommend going to like a tarot reader or a psychic being like, is he my twin flame? Because then that gets really fucking messy. Or there's twin flame coaches and stuff out there. And, you know, who am I to say it's right or wrong? But I just think it can get really messy if you start putting labels and titles on things. So I like to use the term twin flame very loosely and just look at everyone as a mirror, and kind of like that divine relationship. But there's something extremely poetic and romantic about the twin flame journey, which is why I subscribe to it. And I love it. It's ethereal love and 5D love, and it can be really intense, and it activates your heart. And I think the message that kind of got wrong, or people got really opinionated on it, was when that documentary came out. And you guys, there's good and bad in everything, and that's kind of where I am speaking from in this sense of quote unquote truths, is there's good and bad in everything. And so everyone, it's just, what are you subscribing to? And I can see how you can call someone your twin flame and it just being a really toxic toxic relationship and you are just being like, oh, it's my twin flame, I can't break up with him, he's my other soul, but he's like beating you alive. So that's when you really want to take a step back. And those people who did the documentary on, I think they were claiming that you need to find this person or whatever. There's, again, good and bad and everything, and it's just, what are you subscribing to and what are you getting lost in the delusion of things? And when I say delusion of things, that's coming from this idea that maybe something isn't so good for you, but you are putting toxic spirituality, or you're spiritually bypassing it by putting terms over things. This is a really important meaning of this whole entire podcast, and we can just go into it. But spiritual bypassing toxic behavior. Oh, he's my twin flame. I can't break up with him because our souls are half and I'm attached to him, but he is beating you up or being super passive aggressive or narcissistic or abusing you. It's like, that's spiritual bypassing by putting a term over it. And I see this in the spiritual community. This is spiritually fucked. This is what I'm meant to call out, is spiritually bypassing toxic behavior and saying like, oh, I'm protecting my boundaries, or I need to protect myself. When you cancel on someone for the 20th time, it's like, are those boundaries? Are those you protecting yourself? Or are you just being a fucking cunt and you keep canceling on your friends? It's like, stop putting labels or terms over things when you're just being a bitch. Like, let's try to think of another example. I see this a lot in relationships and narcissism, of just putting terms over things, and you're just not being a good person. Or here's a really good one. So, blaming everything on your ego. You guys, not everything really is your ego. Sometimes it is your intuition, and who's to say what is what? And if you are going to a spiritual teacher or taking spiritual advice from someone and you express to them, something doesn't feel right, or, I really don't want to pay this money for this course, or I don't think these teachings align with me, and they tell you, oh, honey, that's your ego talking. Your ego is scared to pay this financial investment. Your ego is scared of change. That's why you don't want to implement the work. That can get really fucking toxic, and that is spiritual bypassing. And again, there is a fine line. Like, I fully submit to this fine line. Maybe it is your ego saying this is too much of an investment, or maybe this is, your ego not wanting to change. But when it's coming from a spiritual master and they're kind of pressuring you into doing something when you don't want to fucking do it, and they say it's your ego, that is really mean. And that is spiritual bypassing. And I've seen this, I've experienced this, and I've also seen this, because you guys, we are spiritual beings, but we also are humans, and we have to make our human happy. And if you are being told that, or if you find a course you want to invest in and it's a big jump investment wise, and you have a rent to pay and you have to feed your mouth, and the teacher is telling you, oh, it's your ego that doesn't want to change. It's your ego saying the investment's too high. It's like, okay, that can be true. There's parts of that can be true, but at the same time, it's like, you have to be a responsible fucking human. Like, if you need to pay rent or feed your kids or feed yourself, like, maybe don't be spending all this money in the course. And the fact that that spiritual teacher is just being like, oh, it's your ego. My teachings are right. Don't listen to your ego. Don't listen to yourself. Listen to me, and you'll heal from my course. That's spiritual bypassing and spiritual narcissism. I really, really want to not call out the spiritual narcissist, but just give you, as the listeners, radical responsibility and to question fucking everything. And There are wolves dressed in sheep's clothing, and I say that as there are spiritual teachers fucking waving their feathers and blowing smoke up people's asses and saying that they're healers and they're robbing you. Maybe they don't even know that they're doing that, but my job as a human, I feel like, is to just, call out gently all these people and to give people the radical responsibility that they really can heal themselves and to not get lost in the spiritual healers in the spiritual community and to stand up for yourself and build confidence in yourself and know when it is your ego and know when it is your intuition. And the only way you know that is when you sit with yourself in silence and when you develop that relationship with yourself. You want to be spiritual, you sit, you meditate, you journal, you get to know yourself. That is the most spiritual thing you can do because you're gaining spiritual sovereignty. There's a whole spiritual warfare going on right now, and maybe that's when the part I bring up religion, okay? And religion, spirituality, who's right, who's wrong. Listen, people, this is my viewpoint on this whole thing that's going on, and people are pointing fingers at everyone else and saying, I'm right, you're wrong. And you know what that looks like? You know what that is, you guys? It's creating separation. You're wrong, I'm right. That's the only way. I'm spiritual, and your spirituality's wrong. Well, if you're so spiritual, why are you creating separation? Have you thought about that? Because if I know one thing, Jesus walked around preaching unconditional love. He fucking bathed the feet of his enemies. You guys, do you really think Jesus would come down here today and say, I'm right, I'm the only one you can follow, and everyone else is wrong? Do you think that? I don't know. The Jesus I follow is the unconditional love Jesus, and he walked around with an open fucking heart. Jesus is the heart, okay? So in my spirituality or in my religion, everyone is equal, everyone matters, and everyone has their own truths. And I don't want to create separation. I don't want to say you're right, I'm wrong, or I'm right, you're wrong. I don't want to do that because to me, that is bringing politics into religion. And that's the fucking point of politics, is thinking that you have two sides. One's right, one's wrong. When really there is no two sides. It's literally just one. And that one is probably coming from a fucking lizard. Like, you guys, just zoom out for a bit. And granted, this is coming from someone who used to be super right. Am I still right? Am I still conservative? I don't know. I'm kind of an anarchist now, but I lean more right because I believe certain things on that side, but that doesn't mean it's right. I became an anarchist because I realized that there is only one side, and they make you think that there's two sides, there's two political sides, but really there's not. I'm sorry. It's just a game. It's all a fucking game. This whole life is a game. And so to go back on the religious thing, I just have been very cautious and weary and honestly unfollowing people who are saying that Jesus is the only way and that astrology is wrong and archangels are wrong and you shouldn't be worshiping anyone else. And it made me question myself a lot. And I was going through some trials last year, really thinking that what I was doing was wrong. And I was creating separation within myself because I was thinking talking to my ancestors, praying to archangels were wrong, and calling myself a fucking witch. Like, I thought that was wrong. And why would I follow anyone spiritually if they're making me feel like I'm doing something wrong? Have you ever thought of that? And then I really just looked at the heart of Jesus and what he taught, and it was unconditional love. And that's unconditional love for yourself. And I personally resonate with archangels and my ancestors and everything. Whether you want to pray to Satan or not, I'm not going to tell you that's right or wrong. I'm probably not going to be friends with you. But that's your own truth. And this is my truth. And I'm sharing my truth because I want you to find your own fucking truth and to question everything. And, the people who were preaching about Jesus and stuff, they made me feel not great. Why would I want to listen to anyone that makes me feel not great? And of course, again, there's this fine line between like, oh, is it my ego? Like, where's this pressuring? Where's this feeling not great coming from? And I'll sit with that, but I'll sit with it enough to then realize it's not true in myself. It may be true for them, and I love them for that. But if it's not true for me, I'm just going to thank you next. Thank you next. Okay, I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to try on this costume, try on this archetype, and see how that feels. And if it doesn't feel great, then goodbye. And that's life, baby. That's the costumes we get to try on. And it's funny, I'll bring this up. Is it funny or is it just interesting? It's divine. Should I start saying that? It's so divine. So I was staring at my costume box that has all like my fun things in it. And I started like grieving this life. I was like, oh. And I talked about this on another podcast that I did with a friend. And I was like, I miss Taylor already. I'm only this human. I'm only wearing this costume one time in my entire internal experience. Why am I trying to live for everyone else? Are you kidding me? I am only blonde hair, blue eyes, Taylor Brooke Mulholland in this fucking life. It would be a disservice not to go full out and be myself. And that was kind of one of the lessons I learned deleting this podcast is I didn't really sound like myself. I sounded like someone else. Fuck that. No, I want to sound like Taylor because I'm only this person, this version one time in a blink of my fucking soul's existence, you guys. And yes, I'm going to have a twin flame in this life. Like, of course. Of course I signed up for that. It's poetic. I'm a poetic Renaissance bitch in this life. And so, yes. So I want to talk about the conservative thing too and why I do lean more towards that because a really important mission in this life for me is to teach women radical responsibility of their own bodies. And again, I don't want anyone to ever feel bad of what they did. And that's another reason why I fucking deleted the last one is because my mission is to put people in their hearts, is to inspire them to question everything and also take radical responsibility. And I think I just said some things a little bit too harsh in the last one, and I just want to soften it up a bit just because that's who I am. I'm a lover girl, okay? I want everyone to feel good about themselves, but I also want them to take responsibility for themselves. And ladies, did you know that you can track your cycle and that you know exactly when you are going to get pregnant? And I say this with the utmost love and respect. And there really only is 5 to 7 days out of the month that you can get pregnant. And, I'm going to be very broad, but also blunt about this. So when you have that awareness and that connection with your body, which you are your own healer, you can heal your body. You don't need anything or anyone outside of yourself. So when you are in track and in rhythm with your body and you know yourself, you know when your body's ovulating, you know when you're about to bleed, you have this relationship, you have full control of yourself. You have full responsibility of how your body is going to work. If you want a baby, you know exactly when you're going to get it. If you don't want a baby, you know exactly when you can avoid that. And when we have a second option, like you can get rid of that baby at any time of day, why would we even care? Like, why would we even take note of when I'm going to get pregnant if I can just get rid of it whenever I want? So when we have that option, I can just get rid of a child whenever I fucking want. Why would I even take track of my body? Like, who cares when I get pregnant? I can just get rid of it whenever. It takes the responsibility out of your hands and you're putting it in someone else's. Do you see what I mean? I want to get really fucking clear on this because when I heard it this way, it changed my mind about everything. And that's why I'm sharing it, is because someone shared their opinion, their quote unquote truth, and it changed my life. And it's like when we have another option, we put our power in other people's hands. So if I'm signing, I want women to have full control of their bodies, that they can get an abortion whenever they want, you are putting your power in the hands of the men in the government. Because you're saying, you need to give us this right. When in reality, you had the fucking right all along. Because you know exactly when you're going to get pregnant. You have always had the right. And when you are constantly waving a fucking flag around saying, we need rights, my body, my choice, sign this into the government, you're giving your fucking power away. Because you are putting your power in the hands of these men in the government. Because you forgot that you had the power all along. The power is inside of you. The power is your fucking womb. This is the radical responsibility. And so I want to be so direct, but also broad, because I don't want anyone to think that I don't want women to have fucking women's rights. But you had the right all along, you guys. You are the vessel. You have full control and responsibility of when you are going to get pregnant and when you are not going to get pregnant. And when you are constantly fighting for this right on a document or this option to get rid of a child, you're forgetting that you had the right all along. And if I can leave you with one thing, it's just know that your body is so intelligent. It's always telling you when and what it wants when you are in tune. And as soon as you sign your right away and you fight for a cause that is just an illusion, it's a fucking illusion, thinking that you even have like the whole government system is so fucking fraud. It's literally fraudulent. Like, they're not listening to us. I hate to break it to you. Like, they really aren't. And if you think you're doing one thing by posting on Instagram, it's like, are you? I don't know. I am an individualist. If you want to change the world, you start with yourself. That's where you start. If you want to save the earth, stop using plastic. Recycling's not doing shit. Just stop using paper. Like, you have to take it per individual. I don't know how much an effect fighting on the street is going to help, because again, you're just putting this energy out there that is, I'm right, you're wrong. That's creating separation. And if we want to raise the frequency of this earth, we have to not create separation and start by creating wholeness within ourselves. You know, these things that are happening out there, wars and political fights and all this shit, it's because at an individual level, we're still not accepting parts of ourselves. It's just a reflection of what's going on internally at an individual level. It sounds so ethereal or so esoteric. I don't know what the word. It sounds so ridiculous, but it's fucking true. Like, we really are. The events that are happening in this life are just bigger reflections of what's going on internally in each individual. And the more we find wholeness and unconditional love for ourselves internally, that's when the world's going to change. It's not fighting on the street. That's creating separation. It's not, I don't know, fucking fighting with your friends or saying, you're right, I'm wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. That's creating separation. We have to create wholeness, and it starts within ourselves. That's how the world will change. And it sounds so much easier than it is. It's because we have to learn how to love ourselves unconditionally in all parts of ourselves, even the icky parts. And that's just the journey of life. I'll wake up some days and be like, I love myself, I love life. And then other days I'll want to fucking kill myself. And it's just a constant evolution and a constant journey. And we are all mirrors. And if you take your triggers that someone else is triggering you and you take that internally, kind of like the twin flame journey, it's like you are finding ways that you can love yourself more. And when you love yourself more, you can love others more. And so I want to wrap that section up just by saying, ladies, I want you to have all the rights and all the control, but I don't want you to think that it's in someone else's hands. It's in your hands. You've always had the control. Follow your cycle. Your body is so smart. It's always talking. And don't get so lost in the illusion that other people have to have that right for you. And so, yeah, I really adore women and I want you to have all the rights. But the right is to know yourself. Know thyself. Isn't that in the Bible? Speaking of religion, isn't that in the Bible? Did Jesus teach that? Know thyself? That's so interesting. And he also taught love thy neighbor. So if my neighbor is following someone different in religion, why would I say that they're wrong? You know, there's a lot of high frequency things in the Bible, and there's also some twisty turny things. And so that's where another biblical term comes in, which is discernment. And you only know discernment if you know yourself. And part of my mission out there is so everyone knows themselves. And so I'm going to go over my notes really quick because I'm a professional. That was just all me, baby. That was just what was coming through. Oh, something I did mention in my last podcast that I felt was really important was the performative spirituality. And I mentioned this thing about sage, like the shit you burn in light, that I feel like is really important. And a lot of these spiritual teachers are coming out and they're fucking blowing smoke out of their asses. And that smoke is sage. And this is just a tidbit and a really valuable toolbox to have, and just be very wary of what is going on in these spiritual spaces. And you know, you walk into a container, whether that's breath work, medicine ceremony, cacao, whatever it is, and they're lighting sage. Sage, specifically sage, clears, okay? They want you clean and clear when you walk into the room. So that clears everything. It clears the good, the bad, everything. It leaves you at a clean slate. And that includes all your spiritual protection. The good spirits, the bad spirits, they leave your clean slate. And that sounds great, right? Oh, I want to be clean and clear. Well, people, that makes you a blank canvas for anything to come into your field, the good and the bad. And so, you know, me being a witchy girl, and I wouldn't say an expert, but a connoisseur in spiritual protection and energy hygiene, when you are a clean slate, you're walking around that spirit world with a fucking green neon sign on your forehead saying, come and attach to me. And so when you're in ceremony or you're in breath work or you're in cacao or specifically plant medicines and you are this clean slate and your soul is traveling to all these different realms and you're out of your body, anything can attach to you. And if you're not sitting with the right healers or the right, you know, you're sitting with the spiritual performers who aren't actually spiritual, they're just blowing smoke out of their asses and waving feathers around for Instagram, you're kind of like not in a good place because anything can attach to you. And if you've ever had an experience where you go to a breath work or a ceremony and they've saged you and you've just felt a little worse leaving, you might have a spirit that's not so great attached to you. And it's kind of like an energy amoeba where you have this field. This is what I teach in my energy hygiene, my spiritual protection. You have a field around you, and if it's not protected, if you have a clean slate, anything can attach to you. And when things attach to you, they fester and they can get worse and worse, and you think you have depression, but really it's just an entity. And entity is a really scary word, but it's truth. That's what exists. That's one thing that I know exists because I've experienced it. And if you have a strong field, when you have strong energy hygiene, spiritual protection, if you have high self-worth, those things can't attach to you. But when you're walking around and going into all these ceremonies and you're constantly being saged, you're just walking around a clean slate and anything can attach to you. And I really want to make this a fucking known thing in the spiritual community because it can be so detrimental. And I've had experiences where I've left ceremony feeling fucking worse. And then I go to my spirit doctor and he's like, you have entities attached to you. And I'm like, that makes sense because I'm depressed and I've wanted to kill myself. They were never me. They were just what attached to me. And I let that attachment happen because I was being ruthless. I was not being responsible of myself, and I was letting other people, I was putting my control or my body within these means of other people, and they weren't knowledgeable spiritual people. They were lighting sage, and fucking we were traveling realms, and shit was attaching to me. And so really, if you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to energy hygiene or spiritual protection, these are things that I teach. I would love to teach you. I would love to, send you on your way of really protecting yourself and becoming strong in your sense of self-worth and your protection, because a lot of these teachers might be like, oh, it's your ego, honey. Kill that ego. Kill your ego. Your ego is depressed. It's like, no, there's an entity attached to me that I picked up from you. So, if you like burning sage, it's great. Clean and clear your house, but, there are steps. I recommend lighting something sweet after. So you can make a pot of boiled cinnamon and vanilla and some sweet things and walk it through your house. What else do I put in there? Rosemary. Like, you want to invite the good spirits back in, because it's great to clear. Sometimes I need to clear my house, but you want to invite the good spirits in. So when you light sage, just always know that you have to light something sweet after. Sage clears, the sweet invites, like sweetgrass. Cinnamon, lavender, I believe, is one. Palo Santo is the whole shebang. You light Palo Santo, it clears and invites. So Palo Santo is super safe. I highly recommend that one. I love Palo Santo. It's the most intoxicating smell. If I had a scent, it would be Palo Santo. She's like walking Palo Santo. And rose. And santal. Those are the three. And cedarwood. I like the woods. I'm a woody witch. So, Palo Santo is great tobacco. I love tobacco. It's a very masculine, it's grounding, it's clearing, and it's inviting. So not everyone likes tobacco, so maybe just ask your roommates or your mom if you can light it, so she doesn't come home and say it smells like cigarettes in your house. I've done that too many times. Whenever I'm doing combo and the house smells like cigarettes. So ask your mommy first. Always open windows. I was at some fucking house and we were eating mushroom chocolate, and he was fucking burning sage, and I'm like, we need to open fucking windows in here and clear this shit. And he's like, the sage clears it. And I'm like, bitch, you need to open some fucking windows. The smoke needs to leave. Open some windows when you're burning shit, and please, fire safety. I have to say this, fire safety. Palo Santo, you're good with. Palo Santo incense. Frankincense. If you get some raw frankincense and myrrh, what do you think they gave Jesus? What do you think the three wise men, aka the three astrologers, gave Jesus? Oh, here's another thing. Speaking of religion, there's certain aspects of Christianity that say astrology is bullshit and you're worshiping devils. Sure, that could be true if you get so into it. But when you look at the reality, it's like the three wise men were following the North Star. They were astrologers, you guys. The three wise men were fucking astrologers. They were following the gosh darn North Star. So, okay, oh my God, I'm having this download. So Jesus' quote unquote birthday is December 25th. That's what we celebrate is Christmas, which is the New Year, which is a false New Year, by the way. The New Year is actually in April, which is when Jesus came back. Jesus came back as an Aries, which is the start of Aries season. We need to talk about this, people. So that is the New Year. And I'm curious, why is it in the Bible, that the Christian Bible, that Jesus was born at the end of Capricorn season around the New Year, died, and then he came back. Or no, he died. Yeah, he died, and then he came back around Easter, which is the start of Aries season, which is actually the start of the New Year. Can someone talk about this with me? Because this is the download I'm getting, and I need someone to mirror and reflect. And if that person is you should hit me up. So that's interesting. And I only came to that conclusion because I questioned it. Do you see? Here's another good tidbit. You're getting a lot of tidbits in this one. When you approach things with a curiosity or an open mind, you are open to all aspects, all outcomes, and all downloads when you approach things with curiosity. And so when you come at things with a very dogmatic or right, wrong, or really strong opinions, it shuts off a part of your brain that allows for reflection. And so when you approach everything with curiosity, which curiosity is such a magnificent word, it's how I'm approaching all my relationships. I actually came to this conclusion when I started opening myself up to dating a bit. And, you know, as a witchy woman or someone who's very intuitive, we like to know everything. And so if I'll meet someone and I'm like, I have to know if they're the right one, they have to know. And instead, I'm approaching everything with curiosity and letting myself question the relationship and question if I like him and question how things feel and just not make it so knowing, like I have to know. What if I was just curious for all things? And I think this is a great way to approach life because it opens up so many avenues. When you're just this curious blanket, anything can fall into your lap. And so approaching religion, spirituality, twin flames, like this is the twin flame podcast. Maybe it's because I'm about to bleed and I'm very much in this poetic, you know, like inward, ethereal. When you are about to bleed, you know, for women, you're in this 12th house portal, let's just say. So my 12th house is in Gemini, which I fucking am obsessed with myself. That I have 12th house Gemini. My soul picked a good one, and I have 12th house Gemini Venus, which 12th house is the ethereal illusion, delusion house. It's the house of dreams and the other world. And then Gemini is like, there's a sister, or there's the story of the two sisters where there were twins. One chose to die and become immortal. One chose to stay immortal. So we have this connection within the underworld, and having it in the 12th house, it's like, oh shit, she can connect to the dream worlds. And having my Venus there, which is our Venus is the planet of love and relationships, that alone is a twin flame realm house. But when you are about to bleed and go into this inward portal, the veil is very thin. And so I do feel my most poetic self, and it's a time for women to go inward and to kind of just connect with that portal. It's a fucking portal in between your legs. And when you're bleeding, it's like the veil is very thin. You're shedding. You're shedding and releasing. And it's a very 12th house era. And men, if you want a little taste of that, if you want a taste of that portal, that's funny. Am I turning you on? If you want a taste of that experience, just set the intention and go inward, or find out where your 12th house is. That's something astrology can really help you with, because if your 12th house is in Aries, you might find that connection and that depth through working out and being very Aries. If you're 12th house Gemini like me, I find this through writing and talking and communicating and channeling and meditating, and because that's very Gemini. If your 12th house is in Pisces, you're very fucking intuitive. So when you find out where your 12th house is and what sign it's in, you find out ways that you do connect to the other side, whether that other side is your higher self, God, aliens, like whatever the fuck you want. And that is a beautiful rounding out of this episode of just realizing that there are all these different experiences, all these flavors of life. Some of my friends have really been speaking the words of flavors of life, and I thought that felt really good, because there are all these different flavors, all these different costumes. I think my term would be costumes of life that you get to try on, or archetypes, or there is so much infinite in this life, and to say something is right or wrong is just, that feels wrong to me. It's just silly, you guys. It is silly. And maybe that's the last thing I'll end it with, is the silliness of life. That is sacred. That is spiritual. That is spiritually fucked. I am here to bridge the sacred and the silly, and to remind you of this human experience is such a fucking gift. And to waste that by suffering or by living for others, it just doesn't sound enjoyable. I'm not saying it's wrong. You can absolutely suffer, and I mean, suffering is part of the process, but you can absolutely live your life for others and do what others say and completely forget about who you are. If that's the flavor of life you want to live, go for it. But for me and my mission here, and whatever the fuck that mission is, I can change it at any moment. But right now, in this moment, it is to teach you radical responsibility and to go find yourself and to do this life for you. Because your soul is the only one crossing at the end of the day. When you're on your deathbed, you're the only one that's going to be coming out that other side. And I do believe we travel in soul families and we meet each other again in the next life, but it's your soul that's evolving. And to do something in terms of someone else because they're saying it's right, but it just doesn't feel right to you, really just question it. And one more thing, it's ongoing. This is 12th house Gemini. One more thing I want to add is to question the spirituality of when it promises an afterlife, but that involves suffering in this life. Just really question that. I'm going to leave that very broad. But I think that's all that I wanted to talk about. Again, maybe I'm over-explaining myself, but this is a podcast on my opinions. And that's it. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. These are just the guides and the ways that have helped me find myself home. And we're all here to walk each other home. And if this is the experience that has guided me home, then I can only hope to share and help you find your way home. And my intention is always to just put people back into their hearts and to know that they have full control. You have full control. You're the creator of your life. And if you're going through something hard right now, I really commend you. And just to sit and feel that. Real spirituality is feeling. Real spirituality is being human. And real spirituality is something that you can only find within yourself. And we do need leaders and people speaking their voice, but just don't get lost in them. Find your own way and really find that discernment within yourself. We are all born with discernment. We just have to find it. And I feel I'm at a really good place in my life when I reminded myself of that and when I returned to myself. And when I stopped seeking, I started becoming. I started being. And that's when you become free. And so I adore you. Thank you so much for being here. And let's hope I don't delete this one. Okay, everyone? Again, go live life. Go live it up. Go be silly. Go watch The Office. Whatever makes you happy. That would make me happy. Okay? Okay, everyone. Bye-bye.